I built a full SEO application with complex API calls and backends without knowing how to code a single line in a matter of days. And the truth is, anyone can do this if they're willing to fail the right way. I'm going to show you two methods that allow me now to build applications a lot quicker and smoothly without going insane using AI tools like lovable.dev and bolt.ai. The first one is the anchor method and the second one is the 3-strike method. So let's go through the first one. All the assets that I talk about will be listed in the video description below. So using the anchor method, I was able to build a complete SEO application that allows you to do keyword research for a certain keyword. It allows me to see what are the keywords that somebody's ranking for, so I can do a bit of competitor analysis, competitor analysis, and even a bit of a keyword gap analysis, where I can find out the keywords they're ranking for, the ones that I'm not, and my advantages, as well as a bit of a matrix table telling me what the best opportunities are. And I built this for our community where we teach people how to rank #1 in the AI search engines, because things like Ahrefs and SEMrush are getting way too expensive and we don't really use all the functionalities. So I decided, you know what, I want to build something for the community that they can use for free. So the way that I did this is I needed to use this anchor method, and that is having a master plan. That is really the anchor here. This has all the feature list, a bit of the architecture structure, your strategic North Star, if you will, that maintains the project's direction, and you can go back to all the time to make sure that you finish the end goal that you first set out to. You don't feed this to the AI like lovable.dev, but you have this so you can refer to it. But when it comes to the execution, when you're actually building the project, I recommend you do it one single function or feature at a time. If you do more than 2 at a time when you're building this whole thing out, it'll get too confused and it'll vary away from the end project. Overview of what the project overview document looks like is like this. You have the project overview, the core objectives, the key features, the API integrations requirements, where it can read those API integration requirements. And you might think that, well, that is a heavy document to create. How do I even create that? And then how do I use that with lovable.dev? It's really nice and easy. So in the video description below, we're going to go through this together. We're going to build half of, or a few functionalities of this SEO application together. But there is a prompt below that you should fill out. This is going to help you build this massive document, which will be your kind of guiding star, your anchor here. And that's the AI development content brief. All you got to do is fill out the green sections here. So I'm going to make a copy of this, and let's fill out the variables, right? So the project name. And you need to have a think of your project name and what you want the full functionality to be. It's even a good idea to base it off a similar application if there is one. But here, let's call this one only ranks for the new SEO application. The end goal, a short description, a full SEO application that allows users to do keyword research, competitor analysis, something like a bit of like Ahrefs. Now, if you are installing an external API into your application, there is always going to be some documentation on how to use that API. The good thing is you don't exactly have to know how it works. You just have to know where to find that information so you can give it to the AI. So here, for example, I know that they've got, with Data for SEO, you can make a free account if you want to make an SEO app, but you can follow this same structure for any application that you're building. We're actually going to go to the documents here. So I know that I want to use this main call here, and I can go to the documents section there. And because the majority of these applications now, like lovable.dev or bolt.ai, can browse the internet, they can, if you give it a URL, they can go and kind of understand that information. With the whole prompt listed out, which I recommend that you do, I'm just going to copy this whole thing, going to go to ChatGPT. And for this, I recommend you use some sort of thinking model. The more things, the better in this instance. And I'm going to copy the prompt in there. It might not be perfect the first time across. You need to read the output and be happy with your anchor document that it's going to use, because that's really kind of the whole mastermind document of this. If that it's incorrect, or if that's not the application that you want, then you're going to have a bit of a headache building this whole thing. Okay, so now we've got the whole project overview, core objectives, expected output, data requirements, user profile, technical stack, and a bunch of things that I don't really know that well, but I don't need to anymore. But I do need to understand at least the project overview and the core objectives. If that is in alignment with the app that you're trying to ultimately build, then you're pretty kind of spot on. You can use this document. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing and paste it into a doc. What I like to do now is the second document that I recommend that you create in that same conversation. Once you're happy with that whole document, you want to swap this over to the agents feature, ChatGPT. You can do that by going / the agent mode. And you want to say, can you create a sheet with all the key features so I can keep track of this when I'm building this one piece at a time. You can see that it worked for 49 seconds and it built me this sheet here. I want to download this because now this is the ability for me to follow when I'm doing the bite-sized integrations of any of the features that I want. It's nice and easy to kind of keep track of all this. I'm going to go to a sheet. I'm going to import the file that the agent just generated for me. And now really I've got two really useful documents. One, the anchor document that will allow me to keep everything in alignment. I'm not going to forget what the final outcome was supposed to be. And now I know how to start building this entire thing with Bolt or Lovable.dev or any of the other vibe coding tools that you want. The only thing that I would add here in the status, just because I prefer it looking a little bit nicer, I'm going to go to data, data validation, add a rule here. And for the drop downs, I'm just going to go not started, building, stuck, and completed. So now I can start building this project here. Let's try this out and go to lovable.dev. And we are going to explain the project that we're building to lovable.dev. And for that, you can use the project overview and the core objectives of this, right? So I'm going to copy this, give this to lovable.dev, and then just say we are going to build this one functionality at a time. And for this, we're going to pick the first functionality, which is the first one that we're going to build is the related keywords, where we're going to input a keyword and it's going to give us the related keywords in there. Make sure that you give it the URL of the documentation containing how the API function calls work. And then you're going to ask it anytime you're working with external APIs to say, when you are ready, I will give you my API documentation so you can actually make the call itself. But it's better if it just kind of builds the backend and the front end components that it needs to. So I'm going to hit enter here. And now in my sheet here, let's go related keywords. I'm going to go, we are building this out. So I'm already keeping track of all the functionalities that I wanted. So after a couple of minutes of building, it's built our first kind of home page, and it only has a few components that it's built. It's kept it nice and simple, and I would recommend you start simple at first. And here it's got the related keywords, competitor analysis, and rank tracking. And those are kind of disabled, and we can only do the related keywords. Now, take a look here. It said add secret key because I told it, let me know when you're ready and I'll give you the API key. So let's try this application without giving it the secret key first. I'm going to go to explore related tools. And let's go local SEO in the United States and go search. You'll see that I've got my first problem here. That is failed to send the request edge function, probably because I don't have the data for SEO login. I need to add the secret. So here's where we start troubleshooting, and here's where I think you need to go a step by step with your anchor document at the end. So I tried it again with the same keyword, and I've got the edge function error return. So I'm going to tell that to lovable.dev. I'm going to say, I tried it, but I've got an edge function return. There is an error. Can you please have a look at what's going on? Now, before you hit enter, I recommend you turn it into the chat, so you don't waste too many credits. And now you're just having a conversation with lovable.dev, Bolt.ai, and most of these vibe coding tools now have the same functionality where you can chat with it and not get it to just start taking action right away and building this thing out. So I wanted to see and find the issue, and it did find the issue before it started building. So now that it thinks that it's found the issue, I can go to yes, do this for me. Perfect. So now I think it says that it's fixed the credentials and the errors that it was happening. Let's try again. We're going to do local SEO in the United States. Remember, we're looking for related keywords in the English language. We're going to click search and boom, Now we've got a list of local SEO keywords, result, 9 keywords here. I can export this and a bunch more things. So now I can go back to my Google Sheet where I'm keeping everything in order, and I'm going to go completed. Let's move on to the next one. And now you can see how by having a clear goal with our anchor document at the end, we're not going to keep losing track of everything, and we can go step by step functionality. This is a really, really good method to keep you from going crazy with these tools, because they can be really good, but it's best if you have a structured approach to build with these tools. Now let's talk about the second strategy here, and that is the 3-strike method. This was really necessary for me because everything, or a lot of the things that I'm trying to do, don't have a specific tutorial for that thing. Let me give you an example here so this makes a lot of sense. I was building an AI agent from OpenAI's new AI agent platform, and building the agent is nice and easy, but then when you want to go and integrate this into your website, it's a whole different story, because you can't just copy this as a embed into your website. It's just not going to work. There's a lot of functionalities that you need beforehand to get to this simple spot where I've got the AI bot here. If you wanted to build this AI agent, it's nice and easy, but integrating to your website, I had a lot of trouble. So how did I do this without going insane? That is by following this 3-strike method. Now, this solution can really be added to whatever you're trying to work with an AI, whatever you're trying to figure out. For me, it was how to integrate these agents into a website. For you, it can be anything else really, but there's a couple of things that are really going to help you here. And that is when you're starting a project, if you have the GPT Plus version, I would suggest you recommend to get it to do as much research on the topic as possible with the deep research functionality, because this is going to ask you a lot of questions that you're not going to think of before. I got /deep research when I'm starting a conversation like I did here. I asked it, hey, I want to find a step-by-step, easy to follow guides on how to integrate chatbot using the agent kit features from OpenAI into a WordPress or Webflow website. This might seem really simple, but I did a couple of things here. Obviously, I gave it instructions, but I also gave it some background. Background meaning, hey, it's a Webflow or a WordPress website that we're integrating this into. And sometimes I don't know the additional questions that I should be asking it. That's why the deep research feature is fantastic, but because it's always going to ask you some additional questions. Once I did that, I gave it the answers, and then it gave me an entire document of how I should do this. Now, you can continue this tutorial or this journey of yours in this same conversation, or now that you have this document outlined by the deep research agent, you can place that into a project feature or whatever else that you want. Because remember, within a chat, there is a context window. And if you keep going having this conversation with the chat in this, it might forget after maybe 2 or 3 days of you this having conversation, because the context window kind of starts running out. Regardless, for me, it was enough. Now, throughout your conversations, you will get an issue, right? You're going to get a bit stuck in a circle, and you're going to give it the error. For example, I get this when I tried to see the Vercel app. This was happening when I just couldn't get the chatbot to happen. And whilst I gave it the information, this really wasn't the right solution. What I should have done is something like this, and use this prompt that is really simple, and I'll leave it in the video description below. And it says, none of the solutions you've provided have worked so far. Here's the current error of the issue, and you're going to paste the error, whether that's a screenshot of the application or whatever the error you can see. Do not repeat previous strategies. Research the underlying cause and present 3 distinct possibilities for the reasoning that might be happening, and pair each with a specific and testable solution. Right, so we're going to use this instead of the section that I pasted. I'm going to show you why this is such a more efficient method to work with this GPT and this functionalities. I'm going to send this now. And now I don't just have a random strategy to test out. I'm telling it, hey, what you told me wasn't working. Don't give me similar options now. Really research this and give me 3 possible solutions. And now I got 3 proposed solutions. And actually, when I was trying this out, it's actually this solution that I was missing out. That took me way too long. Another day in conversations where it figured it out right away, which is the domain allow list in the embed settings, which if you're building an AI chatbot, by the way, you need to do that, but I'll leave that video in the video descriptions below. So your job now is to try each one of these out, and the one that works, you say, hey, this one worked, let's move on now. And this will save you a lot of headaches and a lot of credit when you're using these AI tools again. Simple method, but trust me, it'll make your life a lot easier. By the way, if you want a whole step-by-step guide on how to build your own SEO tool with things like lovable.dev, I've done a step-by-step guide. You can go watch that here. If you have any questions about this, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.